Hi, and welcome to Aging with Amy, where we help families to thrive, not just survive, the aging journey. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Aging with Amy, the podcast where we explore what it really means to age well with strength, purpose, and joy. I'm your host, Nurse Amy, and today I have a very special guest. Her name is Jennifer Naddy. Jennifer is a nurse practitioner and a fat loss coach who specializes in helping women navigate this season of life with clarity, confidence, and science-backed strategies. Jennifer, welcome. Tell us about your story. What inspired you to become both a nurse practitioner and a fat loss coach?
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for having me. I have always been a helper. I've always wanted to help people feel better. And so nursing was a natural major for me to go into at school. And, there's a big difference between the hospital setting and the primary care setting, or like the doctor's office, right? So I worked as an RN for a while in the hospital, and you've got people who are ill or injured. And then I became a nurse practitioner and I worked in primary care. Is more about wellness. Let's keep you from getting injured or having an illness so you don't have to go to the hospital or get on medication. I was drawn towards that kind of education and supporting my patients in feeling their best and preventing illness. In 2019, I found myself in my mid-40s growing out of my work pants, and the things that used to work in my 20s and early 30s were no longer working. It was very frustrating.
I feel that. I really feel
Right?
it.
Yeah, it's like, what happened and how come no one's talking about this? So I was like sitting in my closet in the spring. You've got to put your winter clothes away, pull out your shorts, and none of my shorts fit. I was just heartbroken. Thankfully, my friend Monica shared about a program she was doing that was backed by a bunch of clinical evidence and used different strategies to help the body burn fat while still maintaining muscle. And just knowing the research from being a nurse practitioner, I thought, I'll give it a try. It's just another program I'm trying. I was a little nervous, didn't really tell anyone because you start to get embarrassed after a while when you've tried numerous things and you just keep yo-yoing. So I started doing it on my own and very quickly realized that these strategies were helping my body burn fat, but I wasn't depriving myself of good food and I wasn't killing myself with cardio. And so the fact that it was working and I was still able to live my life and not feel like I was just trapped by this extreme diet, I just felt like, okay, I have to share this with more people, that this is possible. So
Yeah.
that's why I became a coach. And so I've been a coach along with a nurse practitioner up until last year.
Oh, that's amazing. My next question for you was going to be about any aha moments in your personal or professional wellness journey. And that kind of sounds like it was finding this solution that worked.
Yes. I refused to buy the next size up and I just kept burning inches. And this program in itself, it's called Faster Way to Fat Loss. And the faster is because we use intermittent fasting, but we do it safely. So we're not depriving ourselves of food. And then the fat loss is we're concerned about our body composition, burning fat and building muscle, not just losing weight, right? And so I actually tell my clients, I want you to have someone you love hide the scale for 6 weeks while you do this with me, because the scale can be such a mental issue with us, especially as women. I step on the scale every morning. Well, what's it doing to your psyche? So I want women to trust the process and not worry so much about weight, but find that we can build muscle, change our body composition, and have a healthy body for it.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned intermittent fasting. I've seen a lot about that on social media. So tell me a little bit more about your approach to intermittent fasting.
Absolutely. I was already doing intermittent fasting, but suddenly it was on the Today Show and it was starting to become popular. Then the American Heart Association got out maybe a year ago saying it's dangerous. When you look at their study, these are not people that are eating whole foods and focusing on eating enough of the right foods during their eating window. These are people doing deprivation, fasting, And that is not how we utilize intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is just an eating schedule. So you take some time to not digest food, which takes up so much of our body's energy. If we can give our body some digestive rest, it can do other things it needs to do to take care of our body. Giving it that digestive rest for anywhere from 12 to 16 hours and just hydrating, water, black coffee, herbal tea. Then you've got that 8 to 10 to 12 hours where you're eating really good food and enough of the right foods.
And it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I think you're almost going back to how it was in the past. And so it's more healthy. So it makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when the sun goes down, stop eating and let's just hydrate. And it's worked really well for me. And so for the most part, I fast for 16 to 14 hours most days, but I'm also not legalistic about it. So if my family is in town and they're all going to go out for breakfast, I'm going out for breakfast.
Yeah.
But also on regular days, I'm not going to drink a Frappuccino every morning because that is going to break my fast. My body's going to have to go through a lot of processes to digest all the creamer and sugars. I do also teach my clients how to make coffee that's still delicious, but doesn't break their fast.
Love it. It sounds like there's some rules, but some flexibility. So you talk about fat loss isn't about eating less. Can you unpack that a little bit for us?
So as I was saying, eating the right foods, fat loss is not about eating less. It's about eating whole food. Right. And there's two questions that I want you to ask yourself when you're looking at food. Did this have a mom or did this come from the ground? So if you can identify that it did, that's probably a good place to start. But if you cannot identify that because there's so many ingredients on the package, then that might not be the best choice for you. Not that it's not okay sometimes. It's just not a daily thing. So eating the right foods, there's a study where people ate the same amount of calories, but one group ate processed foods and the other ate whole foods. The people that ate whole foods actually lost weight and felt satisfied. That's because whole foods, fiber, and it takes longer to digest. So you're burning more calories digesting. If you eat processed food, that actually gained weight, felt hungrier, and ate faster because these foods are processed so much. It doesn't burn a lot of calories to eat processed food. So what are you eating? And is it fueling your body well? That's what I mean by you don't have to undereat. You just need to choose the right foods.
That makes perfect sense. I've heard before when you go to the grocery store to shop on the outside of the grocery store and not on the inside where all the boxed processed foods are.
Well, and on the inside, let's go down the rice and beans aisle. You know, those are beautiful whole foods and they're shelf stable and cheap. You can get a big old bag of dried beans and throw it in your Instapot and now you have beans in an hour. I love the Instapot for that.
Yeah, so, I love black beans and rice. That's one of my favorites.
The best. Me too. So that's really important. The other thing is when we are not eating enough, as we get older, you know, with women, cortisol is an important part of our body, right? Cortisol wakes us up in the morning. It keeps our blood pressure stable. But cortisol can also get wonky and out of control if we are constantly living at this high stress. One of the things that puts stress on our bodies is when we don't fuel it, when we don't give it the gas it needs to run the car, right? Yes. And so if we're constantly under eating, our cortisol level is going to be a little higher. It's going to make us store belly fat. I need to store fat before they catch their next antelope or whatever it is. When we actually start eating enough of the right food, we can eat more food and burn belly fat.
I think that's so relatable for women in this sandwich generation time of life where we're super busy, we're super stressed out because we're taking care of our teenage kids and then also our aging parents and then our career. And so all of our cortisol is spiked all the time.
Your eating just makes that worse.
Yes.
So making sure to eat enough while you're going through those stressors is huge. That's why I talk to my clients one-on-one and help them be strategic. If I'm busy, maybe I need to lean into rotisserie chicken. It's already cooked. I just pull it off the bone, right? Microwavable rice. Like there's a lot of things you can do to fill in the gaps when you're busy.
I hear the term metabolic health and how that relates to fat loss and sustainable fat loss. What do you think about that?
Metabolic health, that's a lot of times when we talk about intermittent fasting, we want to have healthy hormones, healthy blood sugar through intermittent fasting. You can teach your body how to burn sugar or fat interchangeably. So let's talk about being hangry. I used to be hangry. If I didn't eat every 2.5 hours, I was getting hangry because my body was a sugar burner. It didn't know how to quickly start burning fat for fuel. My brain felt foggy and I would get irritable and shaky. I had no idea that I could be strategic about teaching my body how to flip from burning sugar to fat quickly. It is freeing because if you're traveling or busy at work and can't get that snack in, you don't be shaky and foggy headed, right? Teaching your body to be metabolically flexible and burn fat or sugar for energy is great for your blood glucose. It's great for your energy level. You sleep better at night. And so all of that together can be very helpful as we age.
How do you guide clients who are stuck in a cycle of restriction and then rebound?
That's a hard one. And I tell people my coaching has more to do with what's in between people's ears than what goes in their mouth.
I'm sure.
Because it's a lot of here. And so I have to allow my clients to speak out loud some of the things they're struggling with, whether it be emotional eating, right? Perfectionism. I'm definitely a recovering perfectionist. I teach them that this is about making progress, not doing it perfectly, because most people, especially you type A people and the teachers out there, those are my most difficult clients because they want to do it just right. They want to get their gold star. And I have to teach them that good enough is good enough. We do not have to live a healthy life perfectly. We just need to make progress every day. And that may look like just drinking water for a week because maybe you don't drink water, right? We take it step by step. And I help them learn to think about their goals realistically and know that if they have a day or even a few days where they feel like they've failed, maybe they have eaten all the birthday cake and drank all the soda, whatever it is, tell them, you know what? Okay, you did it. There's no good or bad. You've just fueled your body in maybe a not ideal way. So why don't we go from here on out and start taking the next steps and making progress?
I love the idea of progress versus perfection. That's huge because I can totally get in a space of if I haven't done it perfectly, that I'm just overwhelmed. And it's like too much.
I have to break it down for them.
How can you help someone who feels overwhelmed or too old or too out of shape to get started?
First, you just have to think about where are you struggling and where do you want to be? So that could be that you want to have more energy during the day or you want to have more strength to pick up your grandkids. So first, just take some time to think about what goals do you want? Because if you don't know where you're going, what are your actions going to be? Think about your goals, then make decisions and talk to someone. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is ask for help and speak these things out loud, get them out of your head and talk to someone about them. And we tend to not speak truth and love to ourselves. Having someone you trust share with, like, I'm really struggling with this. Do you clean up your nutrition? Maybe start focusing on protein. Protein is something women undereat, and we need enough to maintain muscle mass. As we age, our muscle mass decreases unless we're trying to keep it up. And so, do we focus on protein? Drink more water. Our brains feel alert. And so hydrating, protein, movement, whether walking or starting some strength training to keep up muscle mass, ways to get stronger without feeling like I have to go to the gym every day. So much of what we can do is just your basics, like squatting to sit in a chair and standing up, right? Getting down on the floor to a plank and then getting off the floor. These are skills that we need for the rest of our lives. And there are certain things you can do to stay strong so that you can continue doing that into your 80s and 90s.
Absolutely. That's a whole podcast right there.
A whole nother podcast.
Yeah. And so 100%. It's so important, especially as we age. And when you think about older adults and the mobility issues that come with that and how to prevent it, you see a lot of influencers talking about the importance of strength training and walking 10,000 steps. So starting with smaller goals makes total sense.
Yes, absolutely. My doctor here in Savannah, very busy. And one of the things told her is just do some squat snacks. There is a study out of China that showed people stood up and did 10 squats every 45 minutes, had better blood sugar regulation than people and did a 30-minute workout.
Wow.
So think about just these tiny little actions you can do during the day, just 10 squats, right? Or get on the floor and do a few stretches. These are things that over time accumulate to help us stay healthy and strong. It doesn't have to be all at once. It's more about those small things you do consistently that really make the difference in the long run.
I love it. Let's talk about strategic supplementation.
Yes. Well, as a nurse practitioner and someone very interested in optimal health, I could talk a long time about supplements, but the recommended amount is how much you need to stay alive. If someone says you need this much vitamin C, that just means that's how much you need to not get scurvy. You could also have an optimal amount of vitamin C that's going to optimize your immune system. I always tell my clients, seeing your doctor, make sure you're getting labs at least annually. A lot of doctors aren't super familiar with nutrition and supplements, so I can sometimes help guide them to ask the right questions of what kind of labs need to be drawn. We even know from COVID that people that did better had a higher vitamin D level. This is normal. We're talking about optimal numbers. And so vitamin D3, we've learned recently that if you pair that with vitamin K2, it actually helps move the calcium into your bones and not into your arteries. D3 is great, but now we're learning, well, let's take D3 with our K2 so that we can improve our immune system, improve our bone health. As for calcium, it's better if you get it in your diet, right? Magnesium glycinate is another huge one that is so helpful for our high stress levels. It helps us sleep better at night. And so, yeah, magnesium, there's a lot of different magnesiums, but I would say magnesium glycinate is probably going to be your best magnesium for headaches, fatigue, poor sleep, stress. This is the kind that help with that. Omega-3s. There's usually a handful that are really good for our age group that I recommend. I guess one of the other ones would be creatine. Do you take creatine, Nurse Amy?
I just watched a whole podcast about creatine and how important it is. So I want to add that.
Yes. So I have a husband and 3 boys, and they all do weightlifting. I thought creatine was just for gym rats and meatheads, but actually it's been studied for 100 years and is very safe. Taking extra creatine helps our brain and muscle health, maintaining and building muscle. That's helping our bone health. So there's a lot of benefit to creatine. It's having its day right now. Creatine's a good one, and I do recommend it. There's only a few people, like if you have kidney disease or you've had a kidney transplant, you don't want to take creatine, but it is safe for pretty much the general population and very beneficial.
When you use it, is it like a powder you just put in a smoothie?
Well, there's a few. I mean, you can take it different ways. It's very affordable. It's usually unflavored powder. So sometimes we'll just put some water in our mouth and scoop the powder and swallow it. Or you can mix it in a smoothie or some water. It does not dissolve very well. And then I use a supplement, creatine, that is like it's called Pink Lemon Burst. And it's like a tart, like pink lemonade. It's very, very good. And so that's how I've been taking my creatine recently.
Switching to talking about diet, for someone listening who might be really burned out on diet culture, what's the first step that you would say to them?
I think that goes back to progress over perfection.
Right.
Find something you can live with and stop going to extreme. Whole30 is one of those things that's very good because you're eating clean, but it is so extreme, it's hard to sustain that for your whole life. And it's almost like keto or carnivore. These are things that sometimes people will do, but they're very extreme and it's very hard to sustain forever. The goal is to find something that you can live with and sustain for the rest of your life. So changing our mindset from, because I'm choosing to not have birthday cake and I'm picking the fruit platter instead, it doesn't mean I'm going to diet. It just means that I'm choosing better fuel for my body to help me reach my long-term goals. I hope that people understand that nothing has to be in extremes. It's just making those small changes over time to make it to that long-term goal, whatever that is for you.
That makes perfect sense. I saw something the other day that said, get comfortable with being boring and make the same like 5 things that you like in a row. That spoke to me because then you know what you're going to make.
Yes, it can be boring, but it's where the change happens. If you're tired of diet culture, find something you can live with and find some people that are in the same boat. The reason I have been able to drop from a size 10 to a size 4 and keep it off now for 6 years is not because of my willpower, because personally, I'm kind of a couch potato. It's because I have a community that encourages me during those hard seasons. Like in winter, I struggle with seasonal affective disorder. So winters have always been hard for me. But now I have a community that knows winters are hard for me, and they encourage me and push me to keep going through the winter so that I don't completely throw my hands up in the air and grow out of all my pants again. Because I know that's not, I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't want to have a stroke. Like, it's not about looking good in a bikini at this point. I just don't want to have a heart attack or a stroke.
That's so huge, especially for our older adults. I just read an article the other day that was talking about this epidemic of loneliness and how important it is to have time with your friend.
Yeah. Loneliness is very bad for our health. And it's hard sometimes, especially for an introvert. You know, you want to just kind of stick to yourself.
Yeah.
But being courageous, again, just to step a little bit outside of your comfort zone can make all the difference in your long-term health.
So tell us, what does a day in your life look like, from meals to movement to mindset?
I am not working as a nurse anymore. I am full-time coaching my clients and part-time working with the Savannah Bananas, because that's where my husband works. I help with the merchandise team. My days look a little different depending on if it's a game weekend. I wake up, drink water right away, have a supplement first thing in the morning before my coffee. Because of my history of depression and anxiety, I get sunlight in my eyes as quickly as possible. And so I get that water. I go sit out on my back porch, or I go stand out on my front porch. I just want 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight in my eyes to wake me up and get my circadian rhythm going. Then after I do that, I do my Bible study, some prayer time. I maybe drink some coffee. I am not really an early morning workout person, but I either get my workout in then or in the afternoon. Then I'm working with my clients. I have phone calls with my clients. I prepare things to put on social media because, you know, part of being a coach is getting new clients. I work on social media things. I'll go over to the stadium and help with some inventory in the banana stand gift shop. Eating wise, I fast until anywhere from 10 to noon. When I break my fast, I make sure my plate has protein, carbs, and fat. I'm not just going to eat a banana and peanut butter because that's not going to hold me. I need to eat at least 30 grams of protein, carbs, and fat so that it's a good, solid energy in a bowl. And I can go from there to do my other things. I get my workout done. I cook dinner for my family. One thing I do that I would recommend, and this is one wonderful thing that came out of COVID, is that we can have groceries delivered to our house.
Yes.
And I have my favorites on Walmart.com. I click on my favorites. They deliver it to my house. It's under $100 for an entire year to have this delivered to your house membership. Once a week, I've got my food coming. I can grill a whole bunch of chicken at once so that I can eat on that chicken for the next 3 to 4 days. I'm in a food prep so I don't have to cook every meal. Yeah. I spend time with my family. I watch my Netflix. And then at night, I may put my feet up the wall just to help circulation and help me relax, take my supplements and do all the things. So yeah, I don't have a very particular schedule.
That's great. I feel inspired. That's awesome. Okay, quick ending questions for you.
Okay.
What is one fitness move everybody should be doing?
So this is one fitness move nobody loves, but everyone should be able to do: a burpee. And I don't mean the crazy burpee, jumping on the ground, doing a push-up. This can be get down on your hands and knees, do a small push-up, then stand back up, and then get down on the floor. Because forever, for the rest of our lives, we will need to get up and down. out of bed, out of chairs, off the floor. But you can just get down on the floor, all fours or a plank, maybe do a push-up to keep that upper body strength, pull your legs back in or hop your legs back in, depending on how much energy you have. It's brutal if you're doing them fast, but if you do it slow, this is what we have to do for the rest of our lives. So do the burpee, do it slow, just do it.
I love it. That's huge. I'm going to do one.
Okay. Maybe next time I can show you a burpee. Yes. I'm not set up for that today, but next time I'll show you how to do a burpee for the beginners and for the advanced.
Absolutely. I love it.
Okay. Okay.
What is one overrated wellness trend right now?
I would say carnivore is pretty big right now. It was keto and now people are kind of moving to carnivore. And again, it's just those extremes. They're not going to last forever. Finding that balance is really going to be best for your physical and mental health.
Totally agree. All right, last one. Coffee or matcha?
Oh, coffee every day. I do like green tea, but coffee.
I'm with you on that one.
Okay? Are you with me? Yeah.
So, Jennifer, how can people get in touch with you?
My name's Jennifer Naddy, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I love to share the things that I'm doing, just like what we talked about. I share these things every day on my stories on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to learn more about creatine, I just did a post this morning about creatine, about the benefits. Why should people take it? I'm constantly trying to educate and sometimes entertain so that people can be encouraged and motivated. I've had many people reach out and tell me that, even if they're not going to join me for my 6-week challenge, they message me encouraged by consistency. So thank you for sharing. And so I just continue to share because I want people to know that you don't have to be extreme. You can live a long, consistent, healthy life. Follow me on social, reach out to me in the messages on Facebook or Instagram. And I'm always happy to answer questions or get on a phone call.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and talking with me today. And I'm definitely going to have you back so we can take a deep dive into some of these other topics.
Well, thank you, Nurse Amy. I really appreciate the invite.
All right.